Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, your number one stop for all things in the world of golf. Watch and subscribe anywhere you get your favorite shows on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google, and more. Just search Get in the Hole. Get in the Hole is the official golf pod of the Underground Sports Philadelphia family of podcasts. Now let's get right into the action. Here's your hosts, Steve McAvoy and Ben Pirro.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome in, folks, to the Get in the Hole podcast. Steve McAvoy and Jake Dippold here. Another Monday in the world of golf. The elevated event schedule just keeps on pounding and pounding and pounding. Last week, the Waste Management captivated basically everybody on stage. 9 of the top 10 players in the world. Obviously, Cam Smith didn't play, clearly. We all know why. Took center stage out in Scottsdale. The Super Bowl happened. And then we basically redid the whole thing, went to Hollywood, and now the Genesis Invitational was basically everything you could have wanted and more. We had crying press conferences. An old Tiger shot 1 under par for the first time in 800 days, something like ridiculous. And of course, what else is new? John Rahm wins another event. I got roasted by my old host and friend of the show, Ben Pirro. He texted me and he was like, "Oh, Clutch Gene," because I said back in, I don't know, I think it was September, I think, of last year. I was like, honestly, I don't know about John Rahm because he had 1 win in, 18 months, and that was the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. And I was like, does he have the clutch gene? I would say no. I thought other players did, and he reminded me of my statement. Then again, I totally admitted to this about 2 months ago. After he had dominated the BMW, I was like, John Rahm is legit, and now he's getting back in his winning circles. So now I'm like, all right, he is this good. Now he's won I think 5 times of his last 8 events, something ridiculous, and here we are. But an absolutely ridiculous week in the world of golf. Jake, give me your initial thoughts from this past week and anything that happened over the week that we should know about.
Yeah, just John Rahm winning. I think it's 5 out of his last 9 starts.
Nuts.
Just absolutely unreal. So that means he's more than half of the times he tees the ball up on the PGA Tour, he's winning. I saw some stat or Instagram post about what his adjusted handicap would be if he played a scratch golfer. I think right now, if you take his scores and ratings and slopes of the courses he plays at, he's like a plus 14 golfer.
Yeah.
Which means if you went up against a scratch golfer, on a normal course, he'd give you 12 strokes and he'd still dominate you. It's crazy.
I'm a 13 handicap.
Yeah, so am I. So we're about the same.
If you and I took him on in all right, here we go. We played him in individual match play, and he gave you not match play. Or actually, no, yeah, it would be match play because it would be we would get the number of strokes per hole anyhow. So you played him in either individual match play or in a 1-day event, and he gave you all those strokes. So 13. Realistically, though, because he's a plus 14 handicap, right? That would be you would get 12 strokes on top of your already handicap. So you'd be getting 25 strokes.
Yeah.
Could you beat him?
No. And I would want to say yes, and I want this podcast to exude confidence, but I don't even know if getting 3 a hole, 3 strokes a hole on a PGA level course, if I could do it. I mean, probably at 3 a hole.
Well, all right. So what I found fascinating is, so back when Bubba Watson was still in the good graces of the PGA Tour, Golf.com did a thing. They bought Bubba to a local muni in California, I think that week for a practice round. And they were like, what could Bubba Watson shoot on your average Joe golf course?
Mm-hmm.
I think the yardage was 6,700 yards from the tips. Wasn't anything crazy. He shot 3 under.
Really?
Now, granted, that's Bubba Watson. I mean, it was more so him just missing all these birdie putts and just basically playing par golf the whole way through. A PGA course, I mean, obviously we would be absolutely crushed. I mean, I've played black multiple times, and I want to cry half the time. I hit my driver 280 yards half the time on Bethpage Black. The tee box, if you were to play even the front tees, to get to the fairway is at least 240 yards. So I would be on the fringe of the fairway to even just start the hole to begin with after my tee shot, assuming it doesn't slice 30 yards into the woods and I lose the ball. So in those situations, all right, I get it. But down by you, right? You go down and play whatever golf course in the Carolinas. Do you think you could beat him on a course that you're familiar with?
Yeah, with 2 a hole at my home course, I think I could do it. And I mean, it comes down to, like, if you're in the rough on a normal Muni course or like even a normal country club course, anywhere that's not a PGA Tour course, you're hitting it out of some pretty bad grass. Like even the fairways in comparison to, like, I played some PGA ready courses and I actually think it's easier. The only thing that's harder is the greens because of just how, like, adulated they are. But hitting out of the fairway on those courses, you're hitting a clean shot like you're picking it off a mat at the driving range. So like at a normal Muni, like you're playing on bad grass, your fairway is basically the light rough on the tour. So like you're never hitting a clean shot. The biggest difference is spinning the ball enough to be able to keep it on these greens to where it's basically promoting your ball to fall off.
Well, that's where I think the beauty is that like you don't know any better, right? Now, granted, look, I played Bethpage Black in off-season conditions. It's the middle of October. It's kind of getting colder. The grass is just getting resodded for the winter, so it can maintain. They closed the golf course for the whole winter. But like it's kind of sort of out of season. It isn't necessarily the best overall conditions. I mean, it's good for what it is. It's great actually because it's pristine because it's Bethpage Black, but they're not making it PGA Tour level conditions, and even then, the rough is still all the way up. So in those situations, I mean, look, like playing those golf courses, like I can go to the local municipal golf course here in Queens, and it's going to be like absolute dog shit. But at the same time, though, like these guys, I don't know if they can handle the really bad conditions because they're used to playing in 5-inch thick grass. But what's 5-inch thick grass when all the rough is basically like hard pan at that point?
Yeah, and I think even like the greens, at least you know what a putt's going to do most of the time if you read it correctly on the PGA Tour. But these Muni greens are so, like, no one fixes their ball marks. No one does anything. Like, you really have no idea when you hit the ball, even if you read it correctly, if it's going to follow that line, because it could hit something random. There's leaves all over the green half the time on some holes because that's where the trees just fall. You know what I'm saying? Not
to mention, too, and I think this is a really important aspect of it, too. You're rolling pure greens on PGA Tour level courses.
Mm-hmm.
I went out to the Hamptons to go play with a friend of mine. Played Westhampton Golf Club. Southampton Golf Club. You would tap the ball and it would run.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before in my entire life. I go to a local Muni halfway through the year and it's fucking beaten up. The greens are so inconsistent that you can never get a good read. When you're on the putting green to start your practice to practice, it rolls faster than on the course. Like you're not getting any consistency. So like that in those situations, I totally get. But enough on that. That was more of our typical discourse. But Jon Rahm, despite the fact that maybe we could beat him, I honestly have no confidence that I could. Wins the Genesis, beats Max Homa, beat a loaded field, one of the heaviest fields we've had this year. Some are saying it could be an even heavier field than some of the majors we're going to see. But takes home the new #1 ranking. And of course, when you win the Genesis Invitational, man, what do you get? You get a car. Pretty damn cool. So he's driving off in a new whip, even though I'm pretty sure he probably drives a Bentley. Most of them do.
Whatever he wants.
If Bryson DeChambeau drives a Bentley, I'm sure he can have whatever car he fucking wants. But Jon Rahm wins the Genesis. What do we think? Do we think this is now let me phrase this question properly. We mentioned this earlier. This is like the heart of golf right now, this part of the year. Major season is a month away, month and a half away, roughly. As we turn it over to March, it's now some of the hardest golf courses. We played the Waste Management, play the Genesis. We're going to go to the Honda Classic, which is traditionally one of the hardest sloped courses on the PGA Tour. Then you have Bay Hill, you have the Valero, you have the Match Play. Like, all of these events that you're going to go and play are significantly more challenging than what you played in the early on part of the year. Even like the Amex and the Sony were not at this level. Those were all country club style resort courses. This is the bare bones, difficult, really pedal to the metal kind of stuff. Can Jon Rahm keep this going, or are we going to see other competitors take fold here? Obviously, a loaded field this week. Max Homa played really well. Will Zalatoris played well. We had mentioned before the show his putter was like how his putter is still terrible. But there are other guys here who can compete. We haven't seen Rory fully out and about yet. Scotty Scheffler showed out last week, won the Waste Management again. What do we expect?
Yeah, I think every time Rahm tees it up, as we've seen with that stat we mentioned, he has a chance to win. Mm-hmm. I do think that I don't give enough credit to Scotty Scheffler, and he kind of threw that right in our face at the Waste Management. But I mean, there's probably 4 or 5, I'd say 4 realistic guys that could really contend to be the #1 world golfer at any point in this year. And I think that's different from what we've seen on the PGA Tour in recent years. There's really been one guy who's jumped to the front and dominated, like Scotty when he made that big run last year. And Rahm may do that this year. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. We'll see if Scotty or Rory or Xander or someone kind of pushes on him. But it could be Rahm. It could be Scotty. I just don't think we give Scotty enough respect for Rahm to be just that clear-cut #1 favorite and say that he's way better than everyone else. But, yeah, Rahm right now just looks unstoppable.
Yeah, no, he's by far the best player on the planet. I would argue at this point we're getting to and I said this 2 years ago or last year, whatever it was, that Jon Rahm was #1 in the world. Once again, obviously he's back to that ranking. When he was #1 in the world, it was basically him and Cantlay who were just kind of back and forth the whole entire year. Obviously, Patrick finished with more wins. Jon Rahm wound up fumbling a little bit at the Tour Championship. But at that point, though, like Jon Rahm was going into events, and every week it was 7-1 odds. It was 8-1 odds, and the rest of the field was like 18-1 and 19-1 and 15-1. Jon Rahm is getting to the point where, unless Rory McIlroy can come back strong, and again, he hasn't really played outside of these last few weeks. He hasn't really played his best golf. He won the CJ in the fall swing. Didn't really play much outside of that. I mean, granted, look, like Rory McIlroy has played very well, but like he hasn't played to the caliber that you would expect from what is a world #1. And you're right, Scotty Scheffler really doesn't get enough love for how good he actually is. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. The guy has had like one finish outside of the top 25 in his last like 20 starts. So kind of nuts when you think about it overall. But I agree with you. I think there are fights this year. I think Max Homa has become, to go from where he was about, say, 9 months ago, even after you won the Genesis last year or 2 years ago, like, didn't see what Max Homa was going to do. All of a sudden, last year he had, I think 17 top 15 finishes. He was unstoppable for the entirety of the year. He finally breaks into the top 10. I think he's going to keep on going. You've noticed that Max Homa wins events and plays well in the best fields. And if you haven't noticed, if you've been sleeping under a rock, the best fields are going to be playing from now through basically June. And then there's going to be a little lull. He'll come back for the majors. I think Max Homa really, honestly, right now, and I've even put in the futures bet, will win the U.S. Open.
I was just going to say that. I was literally just going to say that. I'm all over that.
Like if I had to tell you the guys who will realistically win a major this year, Jon Rahm should 1,000% be winning a major, and I would not be surprised in the slightest if he's the one to win at Augusta. It makes sense. Yeah, the course fits into a tee. He has that skill. Scotty Scheffler could very well win a second green jacket. I'm sure he will. You'll go somewhere like the PGA. One of those two guys will win. I think the only reason why Max Homa wins the U.S. Open is because he has the lowest career score ever at LA Country Club, and he did it when he was 20. Now he's like 30, so it's a very different ball game. Who wins at the Open? I don't really know. I would love for it to be Rory because it would make sense. You go to the Open, you want to win the Open. But like those are the four guys who I think could easily win a major because they are the four guys who are right now, in my opinion, the best four golfers in the world. Patrick Cantlay is really good, but has he been playing like the number 4 player in the world? Maybe, not really. I expect all of these guys. If you're a top 10 golfer in the world, you should be finishing routinely top 25, top 30.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be make the cut. Shouldn't be finish T50. You're going to have your off weeks. I get it. But like Justin Thomas, right? We said it last week, and I completely fumbled my my bet last week saying he would win. But Justin Thomas loves to go on hot streaks and then go cold.
Yeah.
Let's just look at what he's done over the past 6 months. Finished 3rd at the RBC Canadian Open, 37th at the US Open, missed the cut at the Scottish, didn't even crack the top 50 at the Open, finished 13th at the FedEx St. Jude, outside of the top 50 at the BMW, 4th at the Tour Championship, 40th at the CJ, discount the Hero World Challenge, 25th at the Century, 25th at the Farmers, 4th at the Phoenix Open, and 20th this week. Now he's in his hot streak. He's kind of getting it. He's gaining momentum. Yeah. At some point, though, in 3 weeks, don't be surprised when Justin Thomas goes 40th, 42nd, and then 30th. Don't be surprised because it happens every fucking time. It's like freaking clockwork. Xander Schauffele cannot get a win on the PGA Tour. Is he really good? Yeah. Has he been getting a top 10 finish almost every single week? Absolutely. With the exception of this week where he finished 33rd, he's gone 10th, 13th, 3rd, 4th, 9th, 6th, 3rd. Like, it's ridiculous. And again, he won the Travelers and the Scottish last year back to back. But like, could he win a major right now? Not better than Rahm, Scheffler, Mahoma, or Rory. I don't see it. Could Patrick Cantlay do it? Maybe. But even then, like Patrick Cantlay, you even look at his recent results. Missed the cut. Oh, sorry, 3rd this past week. Missed the cut. 26th, 16th, 2nd, 16th. I don't know.
Yeah, he's. I feel like the Masters is always someone sneaky. So like Cantlay would be like a random backdoor sneaky guy to win. But I'd be curious what the future is if you go Rahm to win Masters and Homo to win the US Open. Because I just feel like it just is almost like low-hanging fruit. Like that has to be a crazy high odds just to pick 2 people to win golf tournaments. But they have to be the odds-on favorite, both to win those 2 tournaments.
Well, Homa isn't. I got Homa at plus 3,200.
That's incredible because we saw it with Fitzpatrick when he won the U.S. Open. He won there as a junior, and it really, really showed late in that tournament when Mito absolutely just handed it over. But no, not Mito. Who did he beat? I'm thinking of the PGA Championship. Who did Fitzpatrick beat late? Will Zalatoris. Yeah.
Sir, you literally watched Full Swing. You should know this stuff.
I know. I don't know what I'm thinking of. I just want to talk about Mito dumping that thing away every single episode.
Don't worry. And to the viewers, I promise you, we're gonna talk all about Full Swing on the other side of this thing. And don't worry, there's so much time to talk about Mito's terrible shot and how his girlfriend is way out of his league, or his wife.
I know.
Way out of his league.
We'll talk about that more later. But yeah, Homa to play the U.S. Open and win the U.S. Open, for him to have that experience is just crazy.
Just to give you an idea, Max Homa is currently 21-1 to win the U.S. Open. Which again, I got him in at 32-1. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's the 10th guy on the odds board. He's currently tied with Matt Fitzpatrick, who would go to repeat. If you bet Rahm and Homa right now, a $10 bet would net you $1,800.
Wow. I'm going to do that. I have to do that at this point.
Are we going to do this?
Yeah, that's going to be to get in the whole bet.
Shit. While we're at it, if you want to add Rory to win the Open, $10 would net you $16,800.
And then, what if you pick like JT to win the PGA?
Oh God. $10. Wow, you would pay my student debt. $269,000.
Wow, is that what it pays out?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would honestly, realistically, if I'm gonna do this, I would probably pick Scotty for the PGA. I also cannot discount Cameron Smith yet.
You love him.
I do love him, and Cameron Smith is the only person, and we'll mention this with Full Swing, the only guy, with the exception of Harold Varner, who jumped to live, and I don't absolutely hate, because he at least finished his year out.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And Varner's also the only one who openly admitted, I'm doing it so my kids can have a lot of money, because I'm not going to make a lot of money on this tour, which is totally fine. That's acceptable.
I'll put Ian Poulter in that category just after Full Swing.
No, fuck him still. No.
Something about those episodes and it's
no. I'm going to save this because I have a rant coming up.
No, we're going to get deep. We're going to get deep on the other end.
But also, if you bet Cameron Smith to win the PGA, you can win $300,000 on a $10 bet.
Is he 100% allowed to play?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
And if you bet Scheffler to win the PGA, yeah, it's $235,000. So that would be your four majors: Rahm, in order: Rahm, Scheffler, Homa, and Rory to win all four majors would net you $235,000 for a $10 bet. Speaking of Max Homa, he had a pretty emotional press conference following his T2 or a solo 2 finish to Jon Rahm. Said that he really does care about this game, and the fact that he's gone from the average Joe who would critique golf swings to one of the top 10 players in the world. It means the world to him, and that he really just showed that he cared. And I think that's really the ultimate point that I'm getting at, and the reason why it's in this rundown is that we see a lot of guys get emotional, particularly after wins. We saw Tony Finau do it at the Rocket Mortgage because obviously his son wasn't there when he was playing. We see guys like Billy Horschel back when he won his event. He got emotional because it was the first time one of his kids was able to see him win an event, hadn't won in 3 years. Just a ton of emotions go through you when you win. But when you lose, it's almost as nerve-wracking when you think about it, right? You have a lead, the 56-hole lead, which, by the way, the 54-hole lead, which, might I add, is probably what is the hardest thing in all of sports to keep.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue. You were a pitcher in college. You know what it's like to be a reliever and come in clutch moments. You might have not been a closer, for all I know, but you most certainly had a high leverage situation, bases loaded. You were in a jam, and you have to get out of it. There's nothing harder, in my opinion, in sports than holding the 54-hole lead in the golf tournament, because you got to sleep on it. You're going to sit around till 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You got to wait and just sit around and wait for everyone else to do their shit. And then you basically show up and go, shit, I'm 4 behind this guy now because he was 1 stroke behind me and he was in the group, I don't know, four behind me.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things to do, and I don't blame Max Homa one bit for getting emotional about it. He is one of the best players in the world, and I think he deserves so much credit that actually is given.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crazy that this is the Max Homa that we get to watch now.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's like, because at one point he was comparable to like Harry Higgs and Joel Damon, and he was just like the Twitter guy, and he tweeted things and played golf, and now he every single week is competing at the highest level, and we expect him to win. And he's like one of the new faces of the PGA Tour. I just think that shows how fast you can climb in golf if you start figuring it out and getting into form and winning.
Yeah, no, he really has proven himself. And like, yeah, the Joel Damons and the Harry Higgses of the world, like, still like great golfers. And again, we're going to talk all about Joel Damon on the other side here, but Max Homa has transfigured himself.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's almost like, yeah, he was like the homeboy rally cry kind of guy of golf for a bit. But now it's like you kind of have to take him seriously. You know, it's almost like how can you? Because he still keeps his persona, like especially now as a dad too.
Yeah.
Top 3 people who I can never see being a dad. One of those Harry Higgs. The other one is Max Homa. The other one's Steve Buscemi, but that's a different story. Am I wrong? But like, no, Max Homa is just like he's configured himself to become this overall just stud.
And he's still roasting people. Like he's still roasting people on Twitter, and he's winning huge golf tournaments. That's just absolutely insane.
And like, and it's crazy too because as a guy who, what he's only about, I don't know how old is he? He's probably in his like late 20s, if anything.
Homa, late 20s.
He's 32.
Yeah, early 30s.
Like, this is the highest ranking he's ever been in his entire career. He has 8 wins. He's never finished any better than 13th at a major. Like he's gone from someone who was kind of just there to what can we see every single week from this guy? And it's kind of become must watch TV, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm all on the Homa train. U.S. Open champion, and just going back to your 54 hole lead thing, just makes it that much more impressive what Matt Fitzpatrick did leading from Thursday on. Like he went to bed every night with that lead, and then woke up and finished with that lead, and then won the golf tournament at a major. It was crazy.
Don't worry, we're gonna talk all about
full swing,
full swing in a hot bit. 2 things though that we have to get across. We talked plenty about Jon Rahm, plenty about Max Homa, but really the guy who stole the show, despite finishing 70th this week.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods, 1 under par, 3 birdies on Thursday in that ridiculous group with Rory and JT. I could have only wished to have been there. Dan Rappaport said, quote, "It was the most memorable 5 minutes of my life," and it was on Thursday. This guy has watched his best friend win a U.S. Open. He's watched ridiculous players win Masters events and majors. And he said watching JT, Rory, and Tiger make birdie on 18 in Hollywood was like it was literally like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit just kind of just showing up and showing out. But yeah, Tiger Woods, 1 under par, first non-major round in over 800 days since the accident, in 16 rounds of golf that Tiger Woods has played in. Made the cut at the Masters, played all 4 days. Played 3 days at the PGA and withdrew. Missed the cut at the Open, and now this. And obviously, squeezed in between was a couple rounds with Charlie. Like, what a comeback, dude. And honestly, like, and what really got me was at his press conference on Tuesday, they were like, "Do you really think you could win?" And he said, "I wouldn't be here if I didn't think if I didn't truly think I could win." And he showed it. Honestly, as somebody who for 18 months has been trudging around on a limp and has been trying to act way stronger than he actually is, no sense whatsoever of vulnerability from Tiger Woods ever. You kind of saw it in every round of golf he played, that his heart was literally like pounding out of his chest to try and finish and trudge through. And this week, I really saw something in Tiger that I was like, wow, this is actually incredible, because I've never seen somebody ever come back from an injury like this and not only go under par for a week, but like walk a golf course for 4 days. Like that alone is impressive.
Yeah, and I think the excuse with the Open and him not making that cut is that like walking those courses is something outside of even the ordinary at a major. Like that's a whole other beast for him to walk that course with that leg. And I mean, I was just trying to pull up the Genesis leaderboard and just see like who he finished in front of for people who want to doubt Tiger. Tied with Tom Kim, who we talk about all the time. Finished in front of Sungjae Im, who is the miraculous about 3,000 bazillion odd favorite next week in that horrible field. Corey Connors, Molinex, finished ahead of Matt Fitzpatrick, Hideki Matsuyama, Taylor Montgomery, JT Poston, Andrew Putnam, Kevin Kisner, Davis Thompson, just like a ton of names who we think should be competing every single week to win the tournament. So if Tiger's finishing way ahead of them, playing the same exact course in the same exact conditions, how can we not say Tiger can win? You know?
Should you be embarrassed as a golfer if you finish behind Tiger this week?
I don't think you can ever be embarrassed to be even in the same language or sentence as Tiger Woods. But You should, yeah.
I mean,
you should figure it out a little bit. Matt Fitzpatrick.
Someone 18 months off. Somebody 18 months off of almost having a double amputation in his legs.
Yeah, and like
I don't know.
Like his back almost fell apart 2 years before
You're
that,
right.
3 years before that. Like,
by the way, didn't even realize this, and I want to just toot my own horn for a hot sec. I didn't bet it, and I really should have. My Justin Suh T40 pick on the nose T40.
Let's go.
Plus 500. Wow.
That's your boy. He's like the 45-year-old Chinese guy, right?
He's not 40. He's like 24.
I thought he's old. Maybe he's young. I don't know why I thought he was old.
What? I'm pretty sure he literally just graduated from USC.
Oh, then who is the really old Chinese guy that only plays a certain amount of events? Is that him?
No.
I thought we had a conversation about him. Maybe I could be way wrong.
An Asian player who only plays a certain number of events
and like just plays like the Chinese tour. And maybe it was Justin Suh, but he's young, so that's why.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No. Are you thinking of Chan Kim?
Maybe. I feel like we had a conversation about this.
Chan Kim. Fun fact: I picked him in a Masters like player of 6 pool.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I picked him is because he hit his driver 340 yards. And I was like, oh. I was like, yo, this guy's gonna pound Augusta.
That's funny.
He finished second to last and missed the cut.
His
first round was 14 over. Larry Mize played a better round of golf than him.
Yeah, when you're he was also playing with all those like 60-year-old winners. So if you finish second to last, you're really, really struggling.
Right? Like Sandy Lyle was playing better rounds.
Yeah.
Sandy Lyle was probably on his deathbed. Knock on wood. That's a horrible comment.
Yeah, knock on wood.
So something that came to my mind this past week that I realized going into what we're going to see next week, like you said, and you made probably the funniest comment of the show, Sungjae Im is, let me get the odds correctly, is 9-1 to win the Honda Classic this week. Following him, well, please tell me if you know these names. Shane Lowry, you should know. Yeah. Alex Noren, Aaron Wise, Minwoo Lee, Matt Kuchar, Chris Kirk, Billy Horschel, Danny McCarthy, Adrian Moronk, Sepp Straka, Thomas Dietrich, Cam Davis, Taylor Pendrith, Harris English. If I asked my girlfriend or you asked your fiance right now, hey, do you know these guys? I bet they wouldn't know a single soul.
I mean, I know maybe 6 out of 9, and I consider myself pretty deep in the in the PGA golf, and like
the only one amongst the top like 20 that I've never watched actually golf is Adrian Moronk.
Yeah, I've never heard that name.
I think he's like Austrian. I could also be incredibly wrong, but like, my God, sorry, I made these butter chicken burritos, which are by the way amazing.
Sounds amazing.
My room smells like an Indian kitchen. But this past week, obviously the last 2 weeks, we've watched the top 10 golfers, top 25 golfers in the world all tee it up. It's been incredible to watch. But going back to when Jay Monahan announced the whole elevated event schedule, and obviously he loaded a bunch of them in here. We have these two. We're gonna have Bay Hill. We'll go and play the Memorial, the match play. Like all these events are going to be elevated events, but there's going to be a time somewhere like wedged in between all of this, and the Honda Classic is going to be the first really awful example of this, where no one's going to play this event. Now, the Honda Classic is one of usually the hardest golf courses to play on tour every year. The slope rating is incredibly difficult. It's a PGA National. It's where all the it's basically at the Golf Hall of Fame. Like this week, right? The Honda Classic, the Puerto Rico is going to get played, and then that's going to be 4 straight weeks. Actually, 4 or 5 weeks of elevated events between Bay Hill, the Players, the Valspar, the Match Play, and then it's like Punta Cana, and then the Valero, which isn't, then the Masters, then elevated event at the Heritage, the non-elevated event at the Zurich, non-elevated at Mexico. The Wells Fargo is going to be elevated. Like, guys are going to need to take breaks. And the Honda Classic is the first example of the event just absolutely wiping ass when it comes to no one wanting to play this event, where it's Sungjae Im and Shane Lowry top of the odds board. And honestly, this might be the worst field we'll see amongst actual yearly events. That isn't like the Mexico Open and the Bermuda Championship and the Punta Cana Championship. Like those we get. Those are going to be second-rate events. This is a first-rate event that has nobody. And it's kind of sad because we're seeing the after effects now of what the elevated event really does to you.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing guys play at the Honda Classic just because of how hard it is. But if I'm one of the dudes, I'm not going there just to get absolutely pounded by a golf course and lose all my confidence going into arguably one of the more important weeks on the tour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I'll play devil's advocate for a second with the elevated events and why they're good. Like, they're great for a guy like Nick Taylor, who finished second at the Waste Management and brought home $2.7 million, which was actually less than which was more money than his 2 combined wins added together previously on the tour. So, like, for him to have that opportunity, for him to jump from high hundreds in the world rankings to now being, I think he's like 73rd in the golf rankings. It's just like, it's really beneficial for those guys, but it just kills the vibe of anything that's on an elevated event or a major.
Yeah, no, look, I totally agree with you. And I think we said this a couple weeks ago, where the rumors that they might turn these events into closed events for only like the top 75 players in the world, kind of like what you saw with the WGCs back in the day. If those happen, then there's a problem because it's the same thing as LIV. It's the poor stay poor and the rich get richer, because now it's going to be top 75 players, no cut, everyone's getting paid. Like those things I don't really like. I absolutely love how this week at the Genesis, if you look at the money, right? Matt Kuchar made $625,000. The guy is in his late 40s and is not winning an event. I'm sorry. But to bring home over $500,000 to your family, that's great. Adam Svensson, $545,000. Harris English, this is the first time Harris English has been top 15 in an event since he got hurt a year and a half ago. Brought home $445K. Tom Hoagie, even top 30 golfers, right? Like Tom Hoagie is still somebody who will not win an event. Will win maybe one in every 25 chances probably. He'll bring home some good money. Sam Ryder brought home cash. Nate Lashley, Peter Malnati, Kramer Hickok. These are not household names bringing in double my yearly salary.
Yeah,
like they deserve it. They're good. But they're also in the back end of the top 100, and no one really knows them. If you close the event off and it's only the top 75 players in the world, it isn't the same when the worst player in the field, quote unquote, every single week is, according to this, Ricky Fowler or Daniel Berger or, like you said, Nick Taylor, JJ Spawn, Mav McNeely, Andrew Putnam. Like, yeah, they aren't household name golfers, but I would much rather see somebody way, way, way further back, like a Joel Damon, who's 93rd in the world, or a Luke List, a Gary Woodland, Cameron Davis, like those guys who are on the back side of the top 100. Why can't they get a shot at the big money? Even like Emiliano Grillo, Trey Mullinax. I can even go deeper and deeper and deeper down this list. I'm in the 120s right now. Lucas Glover, Matt Jones should be having a shot at this kind of money. Nikolai Hjogard, too, another young guy. Like, these guys need to make a living, too. And you learned about it a lot in Full Swing, too, and obviously I've talked about it a lot with Ben in the past. Like, as a player, your caddy makes 10% of your winnings. You pay for their lodging. You pay for their travel. For the most part, they're kind of separate to you. It isn't like you two are a together group. I know Preston DeChambeau talked about it once. His contract with NetJets technically does not allow his caddy to fly with him. He makes it happen, but he has to pay them to let him fly with them. So like those things kind of get all fucked up, and guys need to make a living. And what good is it? Even I get it too, like with the cut line and everything. Like, yeah, you don't make the cut, you don't make money, but at least give them the shot. Yeah. The opportunity is what matters. And if they change this up, first of all, we're going to have, while it might very well deter those top 75 golfers will not play in like the Honda again, but your best player will be the guys who do play back-to-back weeks. So like, for example, the Sanjay Ims of the world. But then again, your best player, once you kind of get past all of that, is going to be Joel Damon. Is that really what you want? No, you want to have the best players in the world every single week. I think the big thing is too is spreading out the schedule a little more. They have to spread out the elevated events or change them every year, make the second-rate events an elevated event, and this way people are going to flock to every event every other year.
Yeah, and I mean, this just makes it's an easy choice for these guys to take this week off with what's following after it. I mean, the problem with if you go ahead and say only the top 70 golfers get to play in this tournament, where essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create like the major leagues, AAA, and the Korn Ferry Tour becomes AA.
Yeah.
Because like the Honda Classic, for example, is just going to have a bunch of AA style golfers there, and you're never going to see Justin Thomas. You're never going to see Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm at these tournaments. So you're creating levels of golf, which is, I think, would be the worst thing ever for golf. Yeah. And that's why golf is awesome, because when you see a guy like Nick Taylor making a push on Sunday and the average golf fan is like, who in the world is this? That's what makes golf golf and not the major leagues where a guy gets pulled up. You know what I'm saying?
Not to mention, too, if this happens, like, we've already made jokes about how, like, the official World Golf Rankings is, like, obsolete almost.
Yeah.
Like, it will literally not matter whatsoever, because if you're going to limit it to only those guys can move. Where Nick Taylor finished second at the Waste Management, and he jumps. Let me just double check this so I can be totally sure. Nick Taylor went from, let's see. Yeah, he went from ranked 223rd to 73rd in one day.
Crazy.
Like that, it matters so much.
If he puts together a couple of good rounds of golf, he gets to play the Masters next year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if he can figure that out and make a little more of a push, he makes that huge jump there. If he makes one more top 10 in that late event, he's teaming it up at Augusta next year. But if he doesn't have a chance to play, there's no shot.
Yeah. Like he could technically still make the US Open.
Yeah, exactly.
But all he needs is a shot. And what good is the official World Golf Rankings if you can't even move, because you're now barred from playing the Genesis Invitational. And the only events you can play are either non-scaled events where most players are going to take off, or you play in the secondary events and you basically just got to win a bunch to move up. But like the SOF is not going to be anywhere near what it would be if you gave everyone a shot and you played an elevated event where the strength of field is like in the 400s. Those things really matter. And I think those are that's the key differentiator here that I think matters the most. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to discuss a couple more things with the Live Golf Tour. We have a new set of guys jumping over. What do we think of that? And of course, some full swing analysis, getting into everything from this past week. Watched every episode. It was lights out awesome. Chad Mumm and the folks at Netflix did an incredible job. Took like 70,000 hours of film and crunched it into 8 45-minute episodes. We're going to talk all about it right here on the Get the Whole podcast. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Get in the Hole podcast, sponsored by Ties Baseball Tees. Ties Baseball Tees is the online t-shirt shop that is all baseball, with over 30 original designs from straight out of the bullpen to strikeouts are fascist. Ties Baseball Tees is the place for top quality baseball merch. Get your tee now at tiesbaseballtee.com and get 10% off your purchase with discount code PITCH10. And don't forget to follow them on Instagram at Ties Baseball Tees.
Jake,
we saw 3 more guys jump to Live this week. 2 of which I don't think even matter at all. I don't even think they should be in this conversation. But a guy like Thomas Pieters, I think, has to matter a little bit to PGA.
Yes and no. I mean, does it really matter all that much that actually he's pretty damn good, actually. 34th ranked golfer in the world jumping over. I mean, everyone else, like Brendan Steele, we kind of saw it coming. One of those like names that was like kind of in in the debate for a while, but didn't totally go. And then I can't even tell you the third one. Who officially jumped? Was it? Who was it?
I don't even remember. It's someone that irrelevant. And Thomas Peters tweeted right before like making the jump. Sad to miss my favorite tournament of the year because Well is number 34 in the world. I just couldn't get into the Genesis Invitational. So like I think we knew that he was just making the move and he wanted to take one more jab at the tour. But I mean, like there's what the Invitational does and how they examine people they let in is done by a very strict and very like regimented set of restrictions to get in. And I'm sure Thomas Peters hasn't been the number 34 golfer in the world when those like set of players was set. You know what I'm saying? Like I think he's made push recently to get higher up in the rankings, and for him to make that tweet, he's just trying to spark drama with Liv.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's been relatively a top 30 golfer for the last, I don't know, year or so. He won back at the HSBC Championship 2 years ago. Managed to jump from the 70s to the 30s. It kind of hasn't let up whatsoever. Is it a huge loss? I wouldn't really say so, because when you look at the events that he does play, he's really a European Tour player more than anything else.
Yeah,
he doesn't play a lot of American events. If you look at what he's played, we can even go back as far as we're gonna go way back to last season. He played in the Genesis. He played at Bay Hill, played the Players, the Match Play, the Masters. That's 5 events. The PGA Championship, so 6. The US Open, 7. The Open, technically 8. And then outside of that, that was it. Over the last year and a half, has only played two co-sanctioned American events, 4 of which are co-sanctioned by the European Tour, the PGA Tour, the Asian Tour, and everything else. So really only been 4 American events that he's played. He's played, in terms of the last, 8 weeks, he's played the Czech Masters, the BMW PGA in England, the Kazoo Open in France, the Dunhill Links Championship in Ireland, the HSBC, and the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. That's about it. So is it a huge loss? No, but at the very least, it's some sort of news.
I'd be curious, and I don't know, you probably don't even know this either, but in Europe, is the European Tour like, do they think that's more special than the PGA Tour? Or is there a pretty good understanding that the PGA Tour is the height of all golf?
I think it's understood that the PGA Tour has more power, but I think the European Tour, for a lot of guys, it's like the springboard that they'll play it more often to get to like if you could dominate the European Tour, you should be able to play pretty damn well on the PGA. I think a lot of the guys just don't think that they are capable enough to beat Rory McIlroy every week or John Rahm every week, so they don't do it. But a little bit of news in the live world. I'm not going to dwell on guys like Mito Pereira and Sebastian Munoz and all those idiots going to live. However, I will dunk all over Mito Pereira when it comes to Full Swing.
I'm so excited for this.
The Netflix docuseries Full Swing, 8 episodes, 45 minutes each. Ian Poulter said it the best. You chose a hell of a year to follow the PGA Tour. Holy shit. Everything about it was really good. I think there were a few things that I wish they had. If you haven't watched it yet, absolutely you should. Episode number 1 chronicles basically the relationship between JT and Jordan Spieth as kids. Episode 2 is episode 2 episode 2 is all about Brooks Koepka. They meet up with Joel Damon. They talk about Joel and his caddy Gino Bonelli, who's, by the way, like I met him once. Gino, I knew a guy who I went to high school. Me and him went to the same high school, and he worked for a company called the Caddy Network. And he invited me out to say hi, tour the studio and whatnot. I was applying for a job, and I went out there. I was a junior in college, and the Caddy Network, obviously, as it sounds, is looking at golf from the perspective of the caddy. And Gino Bonelli was there, and I was talking to him about just like what life is like on the PGA Tour. And at that point, I didn't know golf like nearly as much as I do now. And I was like, "Oh, who do you caddy for?" He goes, "Oh, Joel Damon." And I was like, "Oh, that's totally awesome." And in the back of my head, I'm like, Johnny Damon's cousin or something. Like, had no idea who Joel Damon was. After watching Full Swing though, and we could break down every episode. We can kind of just have a discussion on it. I've learned 3 things. I learned that 1, Brooks Koepka's an asshole.
Yeah.
So is Dustin Johnson, but like I kind of always knew that. Joel Damon needs a hug, and like badly.
Yeah.
And of every single person on the PGA Tour that I feel the most for, it's probably Matt Fitzpatrick. Sorry. Your take, your thoughts. What did you think of Full Swing?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I think we should go through each episode and just give some thoughts, starting from episode 1 and working through. But overall, absolutely incredible job by Netflix. Just an absolutely incredible look into the golf world. My only knock overall is that they didn't have more clips of what golf actually looks like on TV. Like to not have swing tracer shots, because the PGA is the most sensitive about keeping their stuff. I don't understand how they wouldn't even give it up to Netflix, and I'm sure that rests on CBS's shoulders a lot. But overall, absolutely incredible, absolutely great. And we'll dive more into each specific person, but I definitely have some opinions on each episode and each individual. But incredible job. Can't say enough good things about it. Grinded through it easily in one weekend. Spoiler alert ahead. If you don't want to, I mean, it's all real life, so you should already know what happened. But I know, like, when people were watching F1, they were like, "Oh, don't tell me who wins in 2018 on season 1 of F1." Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, spoiler alerts ahead. Like, we're gonna say who won the 2022 U.S. Open. Sorry, but let's go to JT.
In case you didn't know, Matt Fitzpatrick stayed with the same family that he stayed at when he won the amateur with his brother, and maybe won the biggest major of the year. I don't know, but yeah, funny. We'll talk all about all this. We'll start with episode 1. I mean, we all kind of knew the story behind JT and Jordan Spieth. Obviously, that cast of golfers, the guys that are all in their early 30s now, for the most part, they all played against each other in the junior ranks. I mean, Tony Finau was in that group. Max Homa was a little behind them, but was still kind of in that like grouping. A lot of these guys have known each other since they were, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, playing in these amateur events. It's kind of crazy to think, though, that like JT and Jordan Spieth are the best of friends, but they like I think what's nice is that Full Swing, first of all, did a really good job at portraying the humanism of golf. Obviously, like, we look at golfers and really all athletes and kind of put them on a pedestal and like, how could they ever be wrong? Yeah. And when you think about like Full Swing, like, guys just scream profanities at every single putt. Like, yeah, we hear it on the hot mic, but to watch Justin Thomas go through his entire cadence, talk to his caddy, talk to Bones, and take his shot and go sit, and then just let out a giant fuck.
Yeah.
Or like, Justin, you fucking asshole. Like, you hear these things that are, for lack of a better term, obviously not safe for work, but you're hearing these things that, like, you would never think these guys would ever say it. And then also on top of that, going to their homes and following them when they're in the car and when they're at home and talking to family and all that stuff. Like, those interactions you obviously don't get. So it was kind of like a nice mix of like reality TV. But JT and Jordan Spieth, best of friends, competitive edges to them. Obviously, Jordan Spieth has not been the golfer that everyone thought he would be. But in 2018, Justin Thomas was like, "Yo, I want to be this guy," because at that point in 2018, I think JT was like in his second year. Jordan Spieth was winning every event. He had won 3 majors, almost did the Grand Slam in a year. I just think like that side of things was pretty cool. I had nothing really more to add about episode 1 though.
Yeah, for me, episode 1 was great. Justin Thomas does not knowing how to use a credit card machine was something that kind of shocked me a little bit. Not sure if he goes into stores for himself often, but I thought Justin Thomas, and the only thing I didn't like about the show the whole entire time was the forced acting interaction when Spieth called JT and was like, "Oh, Jordan's calling me. I wonder what this is about." And he goes, "Hey man, what should my best man speech be about?" "Oh, I don't know, man." I just we could have probably done without that, but really cool to see Justin Thomas down the stretch and coming back at the PGA Championship and watching the little monitor, and they didn't have a monitor out there for him. So the guy had his phone. He was like, "Oh my gosh, Mito just hit the ball into the water. Mito just chipped it across the green. He's not even in the playoff. You're playing with just Will. It's just you and Will." And I just thought that was really cool to see that behind the scenes. Yeah, and the other thing I want to talk about, and we could probably talk about it more with Fitzpatrick, but Netflix definitely dubbed in some extra stuff. There's no way when Matt Fitzpatrick is walking up to the tee, are they saying, "You suck, Matt. This is for the United States." There's no way that happened at the golf course.
I don't know. Part of me could see it. When I went to the Northern Trust a couple of years ago, that was peak Bryson versus Brooks drama.
Yeah.
Because that was just before the playoffs. Well, that was the beginning of the playoffs and everything. And I didn't expect some people to be as harsh as they were. And it isn't even like the people who work there are "Hey, shut up." They can't say anything about it. So some of those things I would not be surprised in the slightest if it was actually said. People are just ruthless. I've been to UFC fights where and now granted, look, different beast, UFC, but saw a fight once and it was a Russian versus a Chinese guy, and the crowd the whole time was yelling "USA, USA!" Bro, come on.
That's funny.
Yeah,
other than that, we can dive right into Brooks and Scotty. Brooks, for me, just absolutely abolished right now mental state for believing he can compete on the PGA Tour, which is obvious why he went to LIV, because he truly, he was at dinner saying, "Scotty shot a 63, I just can't do that. I'm just not going to be able to do that." And I kind of feel bad for the guy a little bit, I guess. I don't really. But Scotty, just absolutely amazing. Has always been my favorite golfer since he kind of came onto the scene. But just to see him and his wife and how grounded and laid back they are. And I think how out of the spotlight he is in terms of yelling and whatever is why he doesn't get much love for how good he is. Rahm is this fiery guy, you're always going to talk about him, but Scheffler just goes out there every single week, does his thing, goes home with his wife and his dog, and just does that. And
he's just a guy playing golf.
It's just such an opposite you see with Brooks, and Brooks' wife not wearing clothes for the whole entire episode. And then we see Scheffler and his wife. We see Scheffler and his wife just being the exact opposite of Brooks and his wife. So, some people will lean into one more than the other, but I just thought it was really cool to see those differences and just a difference in confidence and just the absolute opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to confidence on a golf course.
Brooks Koepka was exactly what I thought he would be.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because you're right. Scotty Scheffler does not give off this I am the top dog kind of vibe.
No.
He's the skinny, lanky kid who is just content with going to Longhorn game days on Saturdays when he isn't playing golf, and just goes out there, plays his round, has fun, eats brisket, and goes home to his wife and his cute little dog.
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka, elaborate house, smoking hot girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever she is. Everything seems great. The muscles and the bad boy vibe and the attitude and the douchiness he has. And then you peel back the onion and you get a depressed, dejected, and fragile human being who goes, "I cannot compete with these guys week in, week out." I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is the Brooks Koepka that I've been looking for years.
Yeah.
The guy who in 2018 said, I will step on your throat to win an event, could not do it. And I think what's interesting too is that, and this goes throughout the episodes with Ian Poulter and Brooks and DJ, that the reason why Brooks Koepka left, and we all kind of knew it to a degree. He only played well in majors, and even then, over the last 4 years, had not played well in majors. Ever since he won the PGA and the US Open back-to-back years, it kind of was like, all right, what's next? Because he didn't do it. He never did it at Augusta, and he never did it at the Open. So, like, what could you expect now? When he said, finally, like, and I quote, I'll be honest with you, I can't compete with these guys week in and week out. It totally makes sense to me. Brooks Koepka left because he simply could not take the competition and the level that everyone else was at. And same thing with Ian Poulter. Ian Poulter said it too. And he was like, look, I have 5 kids. I also didn't even realize his son is a freshman in college at Florida, playing on the golf team.
Yeah, kind of a stud, I heard.
So, like, what?
And kind of a stud. I heard he's kind of good.
Apparently he is. So, like, Ian Poulter, right? Father of 5, has a kid, has 2 kids in college, wants to focus on his family, is 46 years old. He is on the back end of his career. He's not going to win events anytime soon. And if he does, it'll be at like the Mexico Open or the Roast Beef Invitational. Like, will not be winning like big time events anymore. Same thing goes for guys like Graham McDowell and Sergio Garcia, who obviously we didn't see on the show. But Ian Poulter was like, look, I have other things to worry about now in my life, and I don't want to think about every single week having to travel. He wants to stay at home. He wants to play his 14 event schedule that's spread out over 3 weeks at a time, and just enjoy his time with his family. And I think finally, like, we got the answers from all the guys that went to LIV that we kind of wanted to get. Dustin Johnson said, look, I've already left a legacy on my career that I didn't think there was any more to add. Are you totally wrong? Yeah, you are wrong because you only won 2 majors. But like Dustin Johnson, I don't think he has to prove to anybody that he's good. We all know he's good.
Yeah.
He's going to go out and he's going to play every major now because they're going to allow him to play. If he goes out and plays majors and he's allowed to play them, he has a chance to win every single time.
Yeah.
So, like, he already had the legacy of the Ryder Cup. He already had the President's Cup legacy. He's already had 25 wins on tour, which is already top 10 all time. Like, he's already got the accolades there. If you could win majors a part of LIV, why not go? I just hate how none of these guys didn't say it in the first place. And it's the same reason, going back to what I said earlier, why I love Cameron Smith and why I love Harold Varner. Harold Varner said when he jumped in his statement was, I want my grandkids and my grandkids to be financially stable for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And he made a statement how he's a black golfer and there aren't many black golfers and you don't get a lot of respect and you want to make money, and like, he is good, but he wanted to jump because he can make millions and millions and millions and millions every single week.
Yeah.
Same like Cameron Smith played the year out, went to LIV, did not have any qualms. Fine, you did your time. All these other guys didn't say anything. And it always rubbed me the wrong way, but now watching Full Swing, it really kind of got me the closure, I guess you could say, which is kind of lame of me to say that because like, why should I be seeking closure for this? But like, finally, they like the true colors came out. I think Brooks Koepka was like apex predator turned like little clownfish.
Yeah,
and it was kind of hilarious, but also completely warranted.
Yeah, it's honestly sad to see what Brooks went from to what he is now. Like, he's just this guy moping around with white hair. And he's never going to get that edge back on LIV. Like, no one cares if you win at LIV. So, like, he's just going to make a ton of money and, like, have to figure it out with something else. And then Poulter, we kind of disagreed a little bit on Poulter on the front end. Like, I kind of see where he's coming from, but I get what you're saying as well. Also, Ian Poulter kind of just showed, and like, I always knew it, but how much money these guys actually have. Like, to see what Ian Poulter was doing, like, just shows like the inordinate amount of money these guys already have. And who was on Poulter's episode with him? Episode 3?
I honestly can't even tell you. I don't even really remember.
Who was episode 4?
Episode 4 was Joel Damon.
Oh, we can talk about that one. Let's jump right into Joel.
Yeah, no, like just like real fast though, like Ian Poulter. I mean, like he's earned $25 million in his career. Like, all right, that's totally great. Like, good for you. Like, you've already done your thing. Actually, episode 3 is only Ian Poulter, I think.
Oh, they gave him the solo episode for Polt Daddy.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. They weren't going to give it to the that asshole Sergio Garcia, so
no,
that most certainly was not going to happen. But no, yeah, no, Joel Damon, dude,
unreal, absolutely an incredible human being, a guy that I will cheer for until the day I die. And just to see Joel go out there and compete, and why he doesn't, and I knew there was something with his family and why he wears the cancer hat, but I didn't realize it was his mom. And that was definitely something that, like, I didn't think I'd get like emotional. I didn't think I'd get emotional watching this show, and it definitely happened. You know?
Yeah, no, like I learned a lot about Joel Damon. For a long time, I always looked at Joel Damon and I was like, oh, he's the goofy guy who took his shirt off with Harry Higgs.
Yeah.
He was in the trio of comedians that was the two of them and Max Homa. Again, I had known who Gino Bonelli was, a really good caddy, a really good guy, someone from Idaho who, well, both grew up in Washington, but lives in Idaho and just kind of did his thing, has his family. We kind of got to look into the life of a caddy. Yeah. But even like with Joel Damon, mom had cancer. She had pancreatic cancer and died. He had testicular cancer and managed to beat it.
Didn't know that either. That's crazy.
Yeah, like the story's fascinating, and honestly, like we talk about the mental health of golf, right? And back when I had Ben come on a few times, and we'll have him on again eventually to talk about it, but he always talked about how he had a mental coach who he'd always talk to. And I actually interviewed Ben for something back when I was in college, and we talked about how he almost actually stopped playing golf because he had incredible anxiety and he was very nervous, and it almost kind of drove him to death. Just was in a terrible place in his life because he was consumed by golf. And the same thing goes to Brooks Koepka, right? Like Brooks Koepka is so consumed by golf. He even said, like, I could be out with my wife and I'm just thinking about my golf swing. That's one thing, but like Joel Damon's a whole other issue where the guy is a really good golfer and is a top tier 100 player in the world, but has zero confidence.
Yeah.
Like it like that stuff goes to show you, like, you need to have like this arrogance and the swagger about you. And it's like, it's why guys like Dustin Johnson and Tiger Woods and Brooks Koepka for a while were so good. And Joel Damon just doesn't have it. And I think it was cool knowing that obviously when he played the US Open and played really well, that he earned respect from a lot of guys. Because at the end of the day, like they're just trying to make a paycheck, man. They're just trying to live life. And for someone with a story like Joel Damon, he needs a hug. And like, I want to give him the biggest bear hug of all time. I got honestly a little emotional. Because like, yeah, that's just like that episode intertwined the love for people and your team, your caddy, your mother, your family, and all of that. And the mental health aspect of golf. And I think that was honestly the best episode of the show.
Yeah, I completely agree. Episode 4. No, episode 5 was that.
That was Matt Fitzpatrick.
Oh, that was Matt Fitzpatrick, and then Morikawa.
Yeah, I want to talk a little about this now. Matt Fitzpatrick, for his entire career, was always like the guy. He was so good in England. He's the first Brit in like 180 years to win the U.S. Amateur. Did it at the country club. He isn't the biggest guy, and I always say this. I'm watching it with my girlfriend, and if I can find the clip of me saying it like months ago, I will. I once said that Matt Fitzpatrick has quote unquote the most punchable face in golf. And my girlfriend goes, he has such a punchable face. And I'm like, honestly, you're not wrong. I used to hate Matt Fitzpatrick. I have a lot of respect for him, and I got a lot of respect for him halfway through last year, just because of how good he was getting. But Matt Fitzpatrick is very much like a quiet young kid who's analytical and overthinks himself and just does not let his foot off the pedal. And that's what makes him a great golfer. And that episode really showed me that Matt Fitzpatrick is somebody who, more than anything else, deserves a top 5 ranking in the world because of the fact that he works hard. There's no one who works harder in golf than him, and it shows.
Yeah, I completely agree on Matt Fitzpatrick. Seeing those books of every shot he's hit for the last 7 years is absolutely nuts. Like that guy cares about it, works at it, pushes himself harder than anyone, and that's why he's confident when he goes out there, because he knows how hard he works. I hate to say it, but I think a little bit of Brooks's inconfidence comes from the fact that I guarantee if you match up Brooks' practice schedule to Fitzpatrick's practice schedule, it's going to look a whole lot different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
no,
I mean,
no doubt.
Yeah, for that guy to go out and what he does, and for him not to have any wins, for him to get his first win on the PGA Tour with being the U.S. Open is just absolutely incredible. And then going back to Netflix again, another thing, there's no way Matt Fitzpatrick is listening to the coverage of the tournament on the way to the course. Like,
yeah, now
are people going to think that's real? Because that's not even close.
That was dubbed. Absolutely dubbed.
Like, Matt Fitzpatrick, I just don't see it. I don't see him win the tournament. We think he's leaving that on the way to the tournament. Like, that's just not the thing. And then episode 5, Morikawa. For Morikawa, I thought it was like a pretty fast episode. Like, nothing really jumped out to me other than the fact that he has like the cutest dog ever, and he just lives in LA. Like, nothing's even hitting me in the head of like stuff that stuck out to me from Morikawa's episode.
Well, there's a lot to delve into, and I actually want to introduce somebody who has plenty of experience in the world of episodes and TV. Let's bring on Kyle Bennett joining the show, jumping on in.
What up, boys?
You actually came at you came at the perfect time because we're talking Full Swing, and I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Haven't seen anything yet.
All right, just like be prepared for, first of all, just like really great content, and also one episode that you're probably gonna cry.
Nice.
But from somebody who kind of getting away from the episode, we'll recap and talking about the show. I want to get your take as to what you think people should expect from a golf docuseries, considering, like, I don't know, like most people like don't really watch golf, and like as somebody who doesn't traditionally watch week in and week out, what would you expect from a show like this? And obviously, we'll probably have you on next week to give your take, being that you'll watch it this week probably.
Hopefully,
what would you expect?
Well, being that it's from the same producers and the same people who did Drive to Survive, which sparked like the F1
really good
phenomenon in the US specifically, I think it's only going to add fuel to the fire that already exists from coming out of the pandemic and golf being the first sport back, and you had, the fun little, match type things that people were tuning into because it was live sports. Now I think that you're going to get a behind the scenes look at everything that goes on with the PGA Tour, kind of see what I think the traditional golf fan, the casual golf fan, and just like the person who's just tuning in on a Sunday want is the personality. And I think we're starting to get that a lot more. And I think Jake can agree with this too, from just being on like the TikTok side of things. Like, you want personality from any type of athlete. And I think that's what this next generation that you and I, Steve, have talked about, like the people in our age demo are now starting to like tune into golf more frequently. And that's kind of what we crave, is like the personality. And it's different from a traditional Big Four sport, or Big Five, if you want to include like soccer, MLS, depending on where you live. But with golf, you're picking a player or players to like follow along with. It's not, this home base team type sport, or, somebody's not based in a city and you can get behind, the city type of thing. It's an individual that you're rooting for. And I think the more personality and the more like substance you get from somebody, the more inclined and the easier it is for a casual fan to root for that person.
And I think what you said speaks volumes and kind of explains exactly what Jake and I are talking about. Every episode we watched, whether it was Joel Damon or Tony Finau talking about his 6 kids and how his one son wants to be a pro like him, and how the guy cries when he wins events because he can't go watch his son play. Like, those things, to me, you really see the emotionalness and the actual humanism side of golf. Like, I said it to Jake, like it's one thing you hear like on the hot mic, so like Justin Thomas goes, "Bro, you're an asshole," to like himself when he misses a putt. But like, imagine like you're sitting there and you're Justin Thomas, right? And it's the PGA Championship. You finished your round about a half hour ago, and you're getting notice from your caddy who's on his phone and goes, "Hey, Mito just dunked it on 18. Like, start putting." And he's like, "Oh shit." Now, like, the guy's having a fucking anxiety attack on the golf course and is like, "I just finished my round. I'm freaking the fuck out. I have Will Zalatoris breathing down my neck. I've got Mito dunking the ball and going triple bogey town. I have to like somehow get golf balls from the head at the range to be like, all right, let's like do a 10-minute practice round if we even can." Pretty sure he hit like 5 shots, putted 3 balls, and said, fuck it, we ball." Like stuff like that. Like, you're really realizing like how these guys react and like how emotional things can actually be on a golf tour. Matt Fitzpatrick, small guy, kind of underappreciated guy, goes out and wins the U.S. Open and becomes a household name, and everyone's like, "Oh, like this guy goes out and does this." I'm not going to spoil it because episode 4 probably is the best episode of the show.
How many episodes is it?
8.
Okay.
Honestly, like, I watched it in 2 days. Like, you can knock it out in literally 2 days if you try.
It's musical week, so it'll be a little tough. Our show opens on Wednesday, so we'll see.
What's the show?
We're going under the sea, baby. It's The Little Mermaid.
I really hope the live action version is taking inspiration from you guys.
I hope so. I hope the live action's good. But yeah, I'm excited for Full Swing. Like, just from the pop culture standpoint too, of like stuff that all 3 of us have talked about, just, off pod and on pod, like just the explosion that golf had in 2020, and then kind of getting this behind the scenes look and more into the personalities of the golfers and everything in like a center stage type of situation where like it's almost, unfiltered content for the most part.
It's great.
I think it's going to create more like, not clicks, but more like connection to golfers and people, like having like, how there's like Red Sox Nation, there's Phillies Nation, like in baseball and like all the major 4 sports. Like, there's going to be like those stan type of like Twitter accounts and shit for golfers, I think, more often after this.
Yeah.
Jake, go ahead.
I think the biggest thing we're going to see is like more of an average, mediocre golf fan. And that really doesn't exist right now in today's world. Like, there's so many, like, I don't even want to use the word fake, but like fair weather Yankees fans. There's so many fair weather Phillies fans. Like, it happens to where you can like someone a little bit and say, "Oh, I'm a Yankees fan," but you're not going to say, "Oh, I'm a Joel Damon fan. Oh, I'm a Scotty Scheffler fan," and not really know a lot about him. But I think this show will kind of bring in, like, even people who don't care about golf at all, but when you watch certain episodes and you create these emotional connections to these golfers, like even my fiance, if she watches an episode and sees a guy and she's like, "Oh, that's really sweet. That's nice," she's going to cheer for that guy now, at least a little bit. And for me, my favorite episode, so look out for it, is when Sahith Theegala's dad is just like cheering for him down the stretch. And this guy, and like he just moved out of his parents' house a year ago, and his dad's like, "Oh, come on, buddy, you got it, go get it, drop that putt in." And he's like playing for $3 million at the Waste Management, and his dad's cheering like he's playing at a high school golf tournament. It's just really cool to see like that family aspect.
I also love how Sahith Theegala had no idea how to do laundry.
Yeah, that was funny.
I think it's funny because I'm 25 and I've been living alone. Well, technically with my girlfriend, but I'm basically like my own child here. I've been living with her for now 7 months, and I know laundry, and I don't make nearly as much money as Sahith Theegala. And the fact that he is making millions and has no idea how to do laundry is kind of funny. So
it makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah, right. I think also what's cool is that like you learn a lot about the guys who like their inner circle. The final episode, episode 7, they dive into Mito Pereira and again Sahith Theegala, but focusing in on Mito, right? Obviously, at that point, wasn't a part of Liv, but would have dinner every week with Joaquin Neiman, who he grew up with, and Mito took time off from golf, and Joaquin Neiman became the pro. Mito Pereira turned pro at 27. At that point, it was kind of like, oh, like what was always Joaquin Neiman looking up to Mito Pereira kind of flipped on its head. And every single week they have dinner with Sebastian Munoz, who's also Venezuelan, with Carlos Ortiz, who's Mexican. They're all coming together, a mixture of like cultures, but everyone's from Central and South America, and they kind of like have this like inner core, and it shows like all of them are really close. It's similar to like how JT and Justin Thomas and Ricky Fowler are all best friends. But overall, like we kind of gone through every episode. The only one we haven't really talked about though, like really, was Rory McIlroy. Like, what a way to end a show than to have as Kyle and I put it months ago when he won the RBC, the protector of the realm of the PGA Tour, just like all out. It's about him. Talked about basically all of the minutia that you could and fit it into a 45-minute episode that honestly was the most compelling non-golf episode I could have ever watched in my entire life.
Yeah, Rory's episode is just the pinnacle of what the PGA Tour is. And I think the hope of Netflix is for people to grasp onto that one and really be looking forward to them renewing it and coming out with a second season. My only last 2 comments I'll make on the show are that, number one, I think the disrespect to Ricky Fowler was kind of crazy. Like, for his only little blurb to just say world ranking player 158 or whatever it was, and like not mentioning that at one point he was actually like the man in the PGA Tour. I think if you're a new watcher, like imagine if you were watching Drive to Survive and like, I don't know enough about it, but if like, say Lewis Hamilton fell off and the thing was just like current 25th ranked driver, but like they don't talk about everything else that he did. I thought that was a little weird. Like they just kind of kept it consistent, I guess. But, and then the other thing was, I hope this can still get the same push that F1 got. And I think F1 got the huge push is because like we barely knew it existed in the United States. So it was like how the new girl in school is always the hottest. Like she comes and like she automatically gets like +4 on her 10 ranking because she's just the new girl. But like, let's say it's someone that you've gone to school with forever and like known golf existed forever, and just learning more about that person. Like if you don't like that person, you're not going to like them crazy amount. So I hope it still gets a huge push, but I'm not sure if it will get the same push F1 got. But we can.
But I think golf, to that same comparison, golf is that thing that when we were in high school, it was the nerd thing, and like only your dads watched it, and now it's the hot thing. Yeah,
it's like that girl that like just got hot when she turned 28.
Like the glow, the post high school glow up is golf.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
It really is so true, because like when I golfed when I was a kid, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm playing baseball, I'm playing football." I was like, "I'm going to go golf." And everyone was like, bro, like you're a fucking nerd. Now it's like, oh, I got a text the other day, and it was a friend of mine who works at EY, and he goes, Steve, I'm going on a golf outing with our CEO. I haven't pitched. I never lived at a club. I know you golf. Give me tips. I'm like, I can't teach you to golf in an hour.
Tell him you charge by the half hour.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to charge by the 5 minutes. You kidding me?
Yeah, like an attorney.
No, but like
for 6 minutes.
Well, you're right. It's literally the ugly girl that you were best friends with. You went away for college. You come home and she's automatically hot, and it's amazing. And I think, I think golf will get that jump, and I think it'll get a spark because of the fact that like people don't even know the top golfers in the world. Like, yeah, you've heard of Rory McIlroy and you know who Tiger Woods is, but to actually get down to it and like learn about the inside of like these guys, and again, like we had said, you learn about Scotty Scheffler and you're like, oh, like he's the third best golfer in the world. He goes, he plays tournaments, he eats brisket in his off days, and he just hangs out with his girlfriend and just eats ice cream.
Yeah.
And it's like Brooks Koepka, who lives in this elaborate house and everything seems great, and deep down he's just fucking depressed.
Yeah.
Like, those things make golf amazing. Like, and KB said it, like, yeah, you can follow a team, but if you can follow a player and appreciate somebody for who they are, I think it makes it way more compelling. That's just me.
Yeah, and seeing this blow up would only be good, not only for me, like personally on TikTok and our podcast, but like anyone in the golf media realm, because everything just kind of drives up together. Like I posted a dumb TikTok the other day about like day one of watching.
That was great.
And like I got it wrong on purpose. I said watching day 3, and then I said watching Ian Poulter. And I'm not an idiot. I knew Ian Poulter's episode was the 3rd episode, but I got it wrong because I wanted people to comment about how I got it wrong, and it didn't happen. Like people were like, "Oh, you're so dumb. You don't even know what day it happened." And so like people are watching it. You know, at least that's awesome. So like to see that trigger is really cool.
Yeah, and I think overall too, like the idea that like golf can be something bigger, I think it's most certainly possible. I mean, yeah, is it as boring as can possibly be to watch? It's like watching paint dry, yeah. But like when you go to events, it's way more fun. Like you go, and also people don't even realize it's like you can get tickets right now to like the players for like $70. And you're there for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like you go forever and you get pissed drunk off Michelob Ultras and you just go and have a good time. Like people are going to keep on doing this and they're going to keep on enjoying it. And I think overall this is just going to simply broaden the scope of golf even further. And like people are going to want to play it more. I was sitting there watching it, and by the 4th episode, I had my putting mat out and I'm putting while I'm watching it. I was like, I have the golf bug so bad, but it's like 12:30 at night and the ranges are closed. I was like, what do I do? Oh, it was so bad. But yeah, no, like people are gonna want to follow this stuff, and if there is a second season of this, I would love to see John Rahm be included. I would love Tiger Woods to be included in it. I would love to see Patrick Cantlay. I think you can get a lot of personality from Patrick Cantlay, despite his awful outfit ideas and his bank company on the front.
And you're telling me that if more seasons of this don't continue, we're not gonna get PGA Live drama?
Oh my God!
In front of our faces, like that's what I think this is honestly like building towards for Netflix to like capitalize on, is to get that firsthand look at the true like inner workings of how the guys who stayed on the PGA Tour truly feel about these Live guys.
Not to mention also,
and vice versa.
Not to mention also, they captured 70,000 hours of film. They gave you 45-minute episodes, 8 of them. I can only imagine the documentary that these people can put out, basically just analyzing the PGA versus Live situation. And I'm pretty confident that at some point Netflix will release something where it'll look like the headline will be PGA versus Live, and it will be its own standalone 2-hour film, because you have so much content that you can dig into. And between Rory and like Tiger, we didn't even hear from Tiger. Like you can hear from all of them, from so many guys, and get such a look. I think that would be
telling me they weren't
incredible.
filming when Tiger was getting off that plane for that players only meeting.
Oh, they were filming that. They had the filming. They probably had people in the room filming it.
Yeah.
They had like the final episode, not to spoil it for you, but like literally had following the players meeting at the BMW, just for like 10 minutes, an interview with Rory McIlroy where it was just literally the Q&A from that. And like you hear Rory go in depth about this. Like you don't even hear the stuff outside of like what Dylan Dithier is tweeting out on Tuesday or Dan Rappaport. Also, by the way, if season 2 comes out, I'm looking forward to my spot on the show. I want to be able to talk shit. Like Dan and Dylan are great, but like give me some love here. I think Underground could do a great job at chatting up this stuff. Also, Amanda Ballione has had way too much FaceTime. I'm sorry.
Way too much. Way too much.
That's just me. All right.
Hey, I mean, we have multiple shows that deal with Netflix properties now, so
exactly.
Like
whenever the PLL
Netflix
show comes out, I would love to see you get a spot on that one.
Well, I mean, we had the PLL documentary, which was absolutely fucking incredible. So we had that. We have Full Swing. We just announced on Big Game Sunday our F1 content, which is going off the charts right now. Shout out to Casey Libertor. Go follow underground underscore F1 on the tweet machine. Podcast coming soon. My question for you guys, because I fully expect there to be multiple seasons of Full Swing, simply based off the success of Drive to Survive. Like that's in season 5 now. Season 5 is coming out. How many seasons do you think will be feasible for Full Swing? Because I think they can go as long as they want to.
I completely agree with you. Like, I mean, there's so much turnover on the tour. And, like, even with the 8 episodes we got, like, they had to have had in the bank episodes of people that weren't winning. Because the only people we watched were people that won the tournament and were, like, competing to win the tournament that week. So they obviously didn't go into it and, like, planned out these 8 episodes to have these people are going to go each week. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just saw what happened and created things around people that happened. So for them to have all this banked footage of Mito before he went and played the PGA Championship, even though Mito kind of sucked before that happened, like that's mind-boggling that they had a camera with Mito and Joaquin Niemann at the PGA Championship, like before he even was a person that was even worth following. So I can't imagine the amount of footage they have. So like they can do this for 10 more years, easy.
And like I wouldn't say, all right, I wouldn't go that far, but
I would.
If you don't curate it around, let's film the whole year and then release it, you can get so much content. Consider the guys who aren't in the show: John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay. They didn't even talk Cameron Smith. The guy fucking won the Open. The only moment you get of Cameron Smith, and again they talked to 3 live guys. The only moment you get of Cameron Smith is Rory McIlroy walking off St. Andrews, and it's like, well, fuck, I lost to this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's why I think they have like an endless shelf life of doing this show on top of, and we've talked about this a ton on Streamer Season 2. This is the type of shit Netflix needs as content. Like the pandemic really as a whole fucked Netflix with their original content, and that's why it's been this long process and bounce back. And like I genuinely think like the whole like Netflix password sharing thing is just a product to get people to talk about Netflix more than anything, because then they pulled in old Elon Musk and said, oh, it was a mistake that it was included in our bylines and everything for our product. Netflix needs this original content like the Drive to Survives, like Full Swing in the documentary space, to go along with the big budget productions like the Stranger Things, the Bridgertons and stuff like that. Because I'm sure you guys both agree, nobody fucking cares about these like C-level movies that Netflix is putting out. Like it's great. It's like putting on FX on a Sunday afternoon just on Netflix. Like that's what it is. Yeah. And you want to see like this original content from Netflix, and I think they're on that upswing again with bringing that type of stuff. And Netflix wants to get more in the sports space as well. Yeah. So them pairing up with these like niche type of sports like golf, like F1, and you know the possibilities for Netflix to grab some of these niche sports is endless. Like they've been in talks to be like the official like broadcast partner for like Major League Surfing. So I mean, if Netflix can pull all of these like niche sports, it's only going to help their numbers and get their subscribers back to where they want them to be.
Yeah. And sorry,
You
what?
guys see, I mean, I'd be curious as to like what's the next step for Netflix? Is it to expand on golf, or like you said, like is it go get a guy like Kola Rothman in Major League Surfing or in like an off-wave surfing and dive into that niche? Because there's a huge niche like that on YouTube. I think they got to find like Netflix's big move is like what's the big YouTube niches right now, and like what kind of guys have these big followings, and we really dive in and put big budgets into it instead of these super low budget YouTube things. And then the other thing with expansion of seasons is like, if this goes well, they're going to get permission from guys like, I know Rahm denied being in it this year because he was scared they're going to like make him look bad and like this angry guy that he doesn't want to look like. But I thought they did a great job of not painting anyone in a negative light the whole entire time. Like Brooks did it to himself on his own. But like other than that, no one was painted anywhere near negative. Like everyone was giving the best chance to look positive, and I think that's going to only help them get like sign-offs for more guys to have feature episodes.
Yeah, and again, going back to the point here, like guys who weren't even in this show, John Rahm, Cantlay, Cameron Smith, Xander Schauffele, you could literally like Will Zalatoris, you could have literally found a character arc already in this. Lost the PGA, his putter sucks. And then finally wins an event at the FedEx St. Jude during the playoffs. Like that right there is probably an episode. They also missed the mark on Max Homa. You can easily cover Max Homa in any regard. Victor Hovland, Sam Burns, Tom Kim is the prime example of season 2, episode 1 of Full Swing. He is the face. It's him. It's Cameron Young. It's Sunjay M. Like these are guys who are ready to go. And honestly, like, not for nothing too, there's always going to be a new guy. 2 years ago, when I was in grad school, the talk of the town was Colin Morikawa winning 2 majors in his first 6 tries. Now it's like, all right, Colin's here, but Tom Kim's the new guy in town. And Cameron Young's the new guy here. And Sanath Tagala is here. Like, there's always going to be a plethora of talent coming through the door. So you're always going to find new guys to talk about. There's always going to be a fun storyline. Think about
season 6, Ben Pirro.
Yeah, like if Full Swing happened 3 years ago, right? The Phil Mickelson story arc of winning the winning the PGA would have been prime. You're telling me that no other 40-something-year-old is going to win a major?
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Literally, in 3 months, right? You go to the PGA Championship, right? Or in 2 months. You go to the PGA. If Matt Kuchar wins the PGA, you now have an episode. Make it happen. Do it. I think you could get so much content out of this, especially like you're saying, Kyle. Like, so long as there's live controversy, you have content.
You have content.
So just go after it.
This is the challenge to the Full Swing production team, director, everybody. Come on the Get in the Hole podcast.
Yeah. Big time on that.
Come on the Get in the Hole podcast.
I'd be curious to what their drop dead date was for footage. Like, I think I would almost guarantee their drop dead date was before Tom Kim, like, everyone even knew his name. You know what I'm saying? So that even shows, like, I bet you there's no way Netflix is dumb enough to not still continue to record after their drop dead date and, like, start creating footage for season 2, even if they don't renew. Like, they definitely extended. Like, they're definitely filming stuff right now, even if they're not talking about it.
100%. Boys, have a good wrap-up. I got to go record Streamer Season, oddly.
Appreciate you being here.
You go have fun. Enjoy yourself. So we've been at this for a hot sec. I think we should just kind of jump right into this and call it a day. It's time for beer money. I'm not even going to bother talking about what's happening at the Honda this week because the fields are just so ass. And to be honest with you, I don't even have bets yet. So we're just going to kind of wing this and see where we go. But it's time for beer money, brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, Philadelphia's #1 light lager. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny tracker. Find out where you can get your hands on some ice cold Kenny's today. Well, actually tomorrow because we're It's already at night, and the package are probably closed. Top 20 pick at the Honda Classic.
I'm not even going to give you like a ton of rundown on these picks. I just did a little bit of research and like
So did I. So
tried to figure out whoever, but my top 20 is Webb Simpson plus 300.
My top 20 is going to be Matt Kuchar. That's all. There's no rhyme or reason. He played well at the Genesis, and usually if you play well there, you play well here. So I'm kind of going to that. Top 10.
Top 10 Harris English plus 50. Value odds, I think Harris English is playing well.
Who's this?
Harris English. Harrison English.
I like it. I'll take Minwoo Lee. Didn't realize until like
you love a good Asian golfer.
I love an Asian golfer who hails from Australia.
Yeah, that's different.
Just makes the name game 10 times better. Top 5.
Thomas Dietrich plus 700. Top 5.
Wow, we have no rhyme. We're just going at it. I'm going to join you on Dietrich. I'm also going to play him in fantasy this week, so I might as well get behind him. Give me a pick. Who are you going with?
Sungjae M top 5 plus 210. Still good value for him being the only real golfer in the field.
Give me Sungjae M top 10 at plus 100.
Wow.
Plus 100.
He's going to be 7th. I'm going to be so pissed.
Totally fine with me. I'll win money. You'll lose money. Winner, chicken dinner. Who's winning this week?
This was a pick I actually researched a little bit because I like giving a good winner pick, and I think he is in good form. He's ready to go, and that's Aaron Wise at plus 2250.
My pick. I have 2 picks actually. They're both at plus 3,000. The one who I will name who will win is Denny McCarthy.
I like that pick. I love that pick.
Has been on fire. I live bet him the past 2 weeks to finish top 10, and he has. The other guy who I would bet, honestly, is Billy Horschel, just because the horses for courses experience thing matters to me, and I simply think that he can be an asset this week in a really shitty field. So Horschel and McCarthy are my plays. Our wild card picks, again, your boy won again.
I don't think I'm ready yet. I think we got to just post those. I'm not ready for that yet because there's no way we can play more than 3 people at side right now. Like, I think we probably could do like 3 wild card picks, right?
Maybe.
I say we just text back and forth. We figure it out and then look for the posts on Instagram. We've been posting them every week. Look for those graphics and follow the Instagram. That's what we'll give you.
All right. Early looks currently screams Nick Taylor, Jonathan Vegas, and Taylor Pendrith. So we'll see where I go from there, if anything. I don't really know.
I'm thinking right now, I don't even have a single person that's playing this week. Is Joel Damon playing this week?
I don't know.
Like, honestly, like that's the guy I would think. Like, I don't think JJ Spawn's playing. Definitely, like, not my top guys. Like, JT's not playing. Homa's not playing. Tom Kim's not playing. I'm thinking my middle of the road guys aren't even playing. I'm gonna have to draft 6 wild cards.
Who else do you have? So you have Damon.
I got Damon on the lower end. Let me go look.
Oh my god! I have to look at my team. I'm nervous. All I know is that I have Tom Dietrich. Kisner. You don't have Kiz.
I don't think he's playing.
All right. Well, you have Andrew Novak.
I don't think he's playing either.
Oh, he is.
Is he? I looked. I couldn't find him.
All right. So all right. So you have Andrew Novak and Cam Davis.
I thought Cam Davis is going to be good this year. I don't know what happened with him.
Oh my god. Do I have nobody? Fuck, this is bad. I think I have one guy.
You got Dietrich, right?
I have Dietrich. That's it. Wow. Yeah. No. I have 4 wild cards this week.
Like, this is going to be just a crazy wild card. So look out for the graphic. We're going to have to do this more.
All right. While we're here, though, you have 2 guys. I have 1 guy. Do I get the first pick then?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, deal. I'm taking Sungjae M.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Book it.
That's fair.
That was the easy one. Thank you, folks, for joining us here this week on the Get the Whole podcast. The Honda Classic and how bad the field is. We'll see who does a little bit better. Be on the lookout for our graphics. We can give you a little more breakdown of our picks. Check out our wild cards. And, of course, have a great week this week. The Honda Classic. Better hope for next week. We'll see what comes. But, hey, you know what? The elevated events are still rolling. So we'll be back soon. See you guys next week. For Stephen McAvoy, that's Jake Dippold. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!